toast.
To everyone who helped with the down payment, I smiled until he added, and to your parents for using your graduation fund so wisely. I froze. What? My dad dropped his fork. My mom whispered. He wasn't supposed to say that. And my brother? He just looked at his plate, silent. That's when I stood up and walked straight to the safe. And I turned pale. The second uncle, Greg, said it. We were all sitting around the table, dessert plates barely touched, when he raised his glass and said something that made my stomach twist. To your parents for using your graduation fund so wisely. At first I thought I must have misheard him, or maybe it was some kind of joke. Then I saw the way my mom's smile vanished, how my dad froze, with his fork in midair. Uncle Greg, on the other hand, looked completely relaxed, like he thought I already knew. He was smiling, glass raised, waiting for me to toast with him. My heart was pounding now, but I forced myself to stay still. I just stared at him. You knew, right? He asked, looking between me and my parents. I mean, they told you. No one answered. Not immediately. Not fast enough. Then my mom leaned in. He wasn't supposed to say that. Uncle. Greg's face changed right away. Oh no. Oh no. 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 I thought you were an on. I stood up. There was a silence, not the usual awkward kind that happens at family dinners. This one was heavy, like the room itself had dropped 10 degrees. My brother Matt kept his eyes down. My dad didn't move. I didn't say a word. I walked straight out of the dining room, through the hall to the office. There was a safe in the closet hidden behind storage bins. Not digital, old-fashioned. Combo lock. I've been keeping my savings there ever since the robbery during college. I never liked having anything valuable in my apartment after that. I dialed the code with hands that didn't feel like mine. The safe creep open. Empty. The envelope was gone. The one I sealed myself. Double-edged, checked every couple months just to feel secure. It had taken me years to save that. Working 2 jobs during school, birthday, money, scholarships, graduation gifts, everything. I stood there for a few seconds looking at nothing. Then I went back. Everyone was still at the table, but no one was eating. My mom saw me first. You used my graduation savings? She started to answer, but Uncle Greg interrupted, sounding panicked. Hardy, I swear I wouldn't have taken a cent if I knew. Your dad said you guys had agreed. He said it was family money, that it was just being moved temporarily. My dad spoke like I was the one being unreasonable. It's invested, not stolen. You'll get it back. That wasn't your decision to make, Matt said quietly. I told them it was a bad idea. I looked back at Uncle Greg. So what exactly did they do? They gave me 25 grand, Uncle Greg said. They wanted to be early investors in the kitchen redesign startup. I didn't ask where the money came from. Why would I? My mom finally spoke. We were going to return it. Hardy, it's not like it's gone forever. Once Uncle Greg's business takes off, you'll get more than you started with. You didn't ask me. My dad shrugged. We did what we had to. Sometimes opportunities don't wait around, right? So you use me, just not my name. Uncle Greg rubbed his face, clearly realizing he'd stepped into something ugly. Listen, I'll figure something out. I didn't mean for this to happen, but it Already had, and I knew right then that. They weren't sorry for doing it. They were just sorry I found out. I didn't go home after I left. I couldn't. I just drove. No destination. No PL. The streets were half-lit and unfamiliar, and I wanted them that way. Gas station coffee in one hand, my phone buzzing in the cup holder with messages. I didn't open. I wasn't ready. The quiet in my car was better than hearing their voices again. That night, I parked in front of a closed mechanic shop and stared through the windshield for hours. It wasn't until the sky started to lighten that I drove back to my apartment, still wearing the same clothes, still trying to convince myself this was just some misunderstanding. But it wasn't. The safe was empty. They had done it. They had gone into something that wasn't theirs. I went to their house the next morning. I didn't call ahead. I just showed up. My dad opened the door. My mom stood behind him like she'd been waiting. Neither of them looked surprised. I didn't step inside. I stood on the porch and asked one thing. Why? My dad gave a sigh like he was already tired of me. You wouldn't get it. Try me. It was an opportunity. He said, you think those just sit around waiting? Greg was building something and we had a way in. You should be thanking us. When it pays off, you'll be part of it. I laughed once. Sharp. I didn't ask to be part of it. My mom spoke up. We were going to return it. We still will. You're acting like we burned it in the backyard. You didn't. Just take my money, I said. You used it to buy your way into Uncle Greg's business. You didn't invest for me. You invested for yourselves. It's not that simple. My dad said, you lied. That simple. He crossed his arms. Look, legally, the account wasn't even don't. Finish that sentence. He didn't. I walked away before either of them could say anything else. Got in my car, sat there again, staring at the steering wheel. My hands were shaking, and I didn't even know from what anymore. Anger, betrayal, helplessness, all of it. I messaged Uncle Greg that afternoon. He answered right away and offered to meet. We ended up at a diner just off the highway. Quiet place. One of those booths with cracked leather seats and coffee that tastes like it's been sitting since yesterday. He looked exhausted. His hands were fidgeting with a sugar packet the whole time. I thought, you knew. He said your dad made it sound like you were totally in on it. He said it was a family fund, not your fund. Yeah, that's how he spins things. Uncle Greg rubbed his forehead. I wouldn't have taken it if I knew. I swear I thought it was theirs. It wasn't. It was mine. All of it. He nodded slowly. It's already gone, Hardy. I didn't blow it, but it's used. Inventories ordered. Productions lined up. Contractors paid. Deposits. If I pull it now, the whole thing crashes before it even starts. I'm not mad at you, I said. He looked up, surprised. You're not? No, you were lied to. Same as me. He looked relieved for a second, then guilty. If you give me time, I'll pay it back myself. When the business takes off, I'll make it right. I believe you, and I did, but belief didn't solve anything. I needed that money now, not next year, not when Uncle Greg's business maybe, hopefully succeeded, and my parents weren't going to do the right thing. I knew that now. They were going to ride this out, maybe toss me a few $100 here and there when the guilt crept in. They'd convinced themselves they were doing what was best for the family, and I'd be the selfish one for not understanding their sacrifice. I wasn't going to let them own that narrative. I'm suing them, I said. Uncle Greg blinked. You're serious? I've already talked to a lawyer. Theft, fraud, emotional damages. I'm not just getting the money back. I'm going to take more. He stared at me, and for a second, he looked genuinely heartbroken. Hardy, I get it. I do. But that's going to destroy everything. It already did. The moment the papers were officially filed, everything changed. At first, it was quiet. I didn't say anything to anyone. I wanted them to find out the same way I did, without warning, without a chance to spin the story ahead of time. When the legal complaint landed in their mailbox, I imagined the scene vividly. My dad opening the envelope, reading the words, realizing what was happening, and for once having no control over it. The first call came from Matt. He let it ring. Then he texted. Seriously, that was it. One word, no question mark, just that cold little punch of disbelief. I didn't respond. I didn't know him that. Next came the real flood. My mom sent an endless stream of texts, paragraphs full of guilt-drenched pleas and performative confusion. We didn't mean to hurt you. You're overreacting. We told you we'd pay it back. You're our son. How could you do this to us? My dad's message was shorter, sharper. You want to destroy your family over some cash. Be careful what you start. They never once apologized. Uncle Greg called 2 days later. He left a voicemail, then a text. Can we talk? They're panicking. You need to hear them out. I agreed to meet. Same booth at the diner. Same bitter coffee. But this time, Uncle Greg looked drained. He kept running his fingers through his hair and checking his phone like he was waiting for bad news to pop up at any second. They're losing it, he said. Your dad's calling. Lawyers trying to find some loophole. Your mom's reaching out to relatives, saying you're attacking the family. She's not wrong, I said, just not in the way she thinks. He watched me for a moment. You really want to take this all the way? They left me no choice. He nodded slowly. For what it's worth, I think you're right. It's just hard to watch. I'm in the middle of all this. They're your parents, but they drag me into something I never agreed either. They didn't just drag you, I said. They used me to get to you. That money bought their way into your company. That was the plan. Uncle Greg didn't say anything, but I could see the weight of it settling in. I looked over the contracts, he said after a moment. Your dad asked for co-ownership on paper. He wasn't just investing. He wanted control. That didn't surprise me. What are you going to do? He hesitated. I don't know, but I'm not going to protect them if they keep digging themselves deeper. I want to make this business work, not turn it into some family circus. He paid for the coffee, then left in a hurry. I watched him walk out, and for the first time I saw how alone they were going to end up. Back home, things escalated. My parents started calling at all hours. My mom cried over the phone more than once. My dad said things I won't repeat. The best part, they still insisted they'd return the money eventually. Once Uncle Greg's Business started to profit. That was their new favorite word. Eventually, I didn't trust that, not from people who looked me in the eye and lied for months. Then Matt messaged again longer. This time, I get that you're angry, but suing them? They were trying to help. Everyone, you're going to ruin our family over this. If you go through with it, don't expect me to be there for you. I read it twice, let it sit in my inbox for a minute, then I blocked his number. I wasn't going to let someone guilt me into silence just because we shared DNA. The court date was coming, and I wasn't backing down. 2 weeks before the court date, everything went quiet, too quiet. No more angry calls from my dad. No more guilt-ridden texts from my mom. Matt had disappeared completely. Even Uncle Greg stopped reaching out for a minute. I wondered if maybe they were finally realizing they'd lost, but something felt off. It wasn't surrender. It was strategy. The knock came late, just past 10 p.m. on a Thursday. I was in sweatpants halfway through heating up leftover pasta. When I looked through the peephole, I actually stepped back. It was my mom. I opened the door just enough to block the way. She looked wrecked, hair tied back, coat half button like she just grabbed the first thing on the way out. She didn't wait for an invitation, just stepped past me like it was still her house. She dropped a manila folder on the kitchen table. I brought this, she said. Her voice was flat, too calm. Inside the folder were things I hadn't seen in years. Childhood drawings, school certificates, a crayon letter I wrote her in 3rd grade, a few old photos, and then at the bottom, a check made out to me. Dated that morning. I didn't touch it. Where did this come from? She shifted. Does it matter? You wanted your money. There it is. No, I said, that's not what I asked. Who gave you this? She stayed silent for a second. Too long. We borrowed it from someone who understands this, doesn't need to go to court. I stared at her. You think I'm going to drop the case because you found a way to replace the money you stole? She raised her chin. You weren't supposed to find out. This was supposed to benefit all of us. You overreacted. That word, overreacted. I wanted to laugh. You still don't think you did anything wrong. We raised you, fed you, paid for everything. You owe us more than this. You think that buys you the right to take from me? You're acting like we're strangers. You made yourself strangers the day you opened that safe. She left without another word, slammed the door behind her. The check stayed on the table until I shredded it the next morning. Then Uncle Greg called. His voice was tense, almost apologetic. They came to me last week, he said. Tried to negotiate. Said if I could just front them the money, they'd sign over their stake in the business. Try to end this quietly. They offer to sell you your own piece. Pretty much. You say no, I said. Hell no. I've had enough of their games. I sent a notice effective immediately. I'm cutting them out of everything. I'll eat the loss. I was quiet. They've been calling everyone, he said, saying you're trying to tear the family apart. But I found something you should see. He emailed me a file. It was something my lawyer had already flagged. A screenshot of a text thread between my mom and dad. Buried in the middle was the line that hit harder than anything they'd ever said to my face. If we play it right, Hardy will get over it. And if Greg's business takes off will be set for life. He won't stay mad forever. That was never about me. It was never about my future. I wasn't their son anymore. I was a calculation, a move on a board, a temporary sacrifice. But they forgot something. I wasn't a kid with a crayon anymore. I printed that text out and handed it to my lawyer. We're not just asking for the money back, I said. She looked up at me. What then? Pain and suffering, breach of trust, fraud, emotional damages, all of it. She nodded. They'll fight it. Let them. For the first time in weeks, I slept like a rock. The courthouse was gray, quiet, and cold, just like I expected. I wore my graduation suit, fitting considering that's when the money was meant for. I hadn't touched that suit since the ceremony. My parents had been there that day, smiling and clapping, knowing full well that the envelope with my savings was already in their safe. They were already seated when I entered the courtroom. My mom avoided my eyes. My dad sat stiffly like he was being forced to attend some low-level meeting beneath his time. Matt was on the far end, arms across, eyes forward, pretending he didn't see me. I believed he wasn't pretending anymore. The judge came in, and it all started quickly. My lawyer didn't waste time. She opened with the facts. I had saved $25,000 over several years. I had stored it in a family safe, not as a joint asset, not as a shared fund, but with a clear and consistent understanding that it belonged to me alone. She explained the theft not with drama, just simple, unavoidable truth. Then she brought out the text, the one where my mother wrote, "If we play it right, Hardy will get over it. And if Greg's business takes off, we'll be set for life." The courtroom was silent when that was read aloud. Their lawyer stammered through some defense about informal family lending, mutual benefit, unspoken agreements. He tried to reframe it as an unfortunate misunderstanding that had been blown out of proportion by emotion. Said they were always planning to return the money, just needed time. But my lawyer was ready. She showed the timeline, the secrecy, the failed attempt to bribe me into dropping the case. She highlighted the attempt to solicit Uncle Greg for hush money in exchange for a business stake. By the time she finished, the judge was already scribbling something down. When my mom was asked to speak, she cried, a soft, steady stream of tears. She said she had made a mistake, said she thought I'd forgive them, and she still believed family was more important than legal battles. My dad was the opposite. When it was his turn, he didn't apologize. He said I was being vindictive, said I was humiliating them, that they were only trying to give us all a better life. The judge didn't care. The ruling came within the hour. The court found in my favor full reimbursement of the $25,000 plus $10,000 for emotional damages and breach of trust. Is still my hands were tight in my lap. I didn't even flinch. And then came the part they weren't ready for. They didn't have the cash. That's where my lawyer dropped the final piece. We'd already traced their assets. Their most valuable possession, a new black SUV worth about $35,000, paid in full, registered in both their names. She motioned for the judge to approve a lien and order transfer of the vehicle's title as compensation. He Signed off immediately. My mom gasped. My dad stood up and snapped. Said the whole system was corrupt. That he'd appeal. That I'd regret this. The judge told him to sit down or leave. He didn't. 2 bases escorted him out while he barked something I didn't bother listening to. Matt followed them. Not a glance in my direction. Outside, Uncle Greg was waiting for me near the steps. He didn't say anything right away, just handed me a plain white envelope. I know you said it wasn't my fault, he said, but I feel like I was used to. That money they gave me, your money, built the bones of my company. I can't keep it hanging over my head. Inside was a check for $5,000. I'll pay back the rest when the business picks up, but this is a start. I nodded, took it. That night I drove their SUV back to my apartment. It still smelled like new leather. The console was set to my dad's favorite radio station. I parked it, sat there just breathing. They thought they'd taken something temporary, but they stole something permanent. And now I'd taken something back they never saw coming. After the court ruling, there was no dramatic fallout, no final confrontation, no apology, just a quiet, calculated absence. My parents disappeared from my life like they had been waiting for the exact moment to go. Silent, as if cutting me off was some form of retaliation, some twisted final move. I didn't chase them. I didn't expect them to reach out. And they didn't. Matt moved out of his apartment 2 weeks later. I only found out because someone from his building, an old classmate I barely spoke to anymore, sent me a message saying he saw Matt carrying boxes to his car, looking pissed off and embarrassed. Apparently, my parents had been covering part of his rent, and without them, he couldn't keep up. He didn't ask me for help. I think he knew the answer, or maybe his pride wouldn't let him. Either way, he vanished too. No texts, no calls. The last thing he ever sent me was that message before the trial. Don't expect me to be there for you. He was right. He wasn't. And I was done waiting for people to show up. The SUV sat in my parking spot for a while before I could even bring myself to drive it. Every time I looked at it, it reminded me of everything. The betrayal, the courtroom, the fake tears, the arrogance. That vehicle wasn't just transportation. It was a symbol of how far they were willing to go to get ahead, even if it meant stepping on me to do it. Eventually, I drove it, got it detailed, removed their phone connections, erased the navigation history, changed the locks and key fob codes. The leather still smelled like them at first. That faded with time. I kept it, not out of pride, just as a reminder that some victories don't feel like wins. They feel like boundaries being enforced. Uncle Greg kept in touch. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork, he'd send a message or a small payment. One day he wrote, I had no idea who they really were. I see it now. I'm not proud of what I accepted, but I'm going to pay it all back. You didn't deserve that. That meant more to me than anything my parents could have said. He was the only one who didn't double down, who didn't deflect, who didn't throw up the family first defense. His business started growing slowly at first, then faster. Word of mouth spread. Reviews came in. A few local publications picked it up. He cut my parents out entirely, not just on paper. He stopped speaking to them. When They tried to reach back out through mutual relatives. He didn't respond. And that's when the family really started turning. No one wanted to get involved at first, but stories like this don't stay quiet forever. People ask questions, and eventually the truth got around. Everyone heard about the trial, the ruling, the SUV, the silence that followed. Cousins stopped visiting them. Aunt Diane didn't invite them to Thanksgiving. Even my grandma, who never took sides, told me she didn't recognize her son anymore. They became the people who used their own child savings to buy into someone else's business, got sued for it, and lost. There's no coming back from that. I never felt victorious, just clear like a fog had lifted. I stopped trying to fix things that were broken long before the money ever disappeared. I stopped rewriting memories to make the good times feel bigger than the bad ones. I accepted the truth. They hadn't made a mistake. They made a decision and I made mine. I still have the ruling in a folder in my desk. I still have the envelope Uncle Greg gave me, the first $5,000 of the repayment, and I still have the SUV keys. I carry them every day. Sometimes, when I get in the car, I think about what they lost. Not just the trial, not just the vehicle, but their place in my life, their respect, their story. I don't talk to them anymore. And not once since the trial have they tried to talk to me. They're living with the consequences now, alone, resented, shut out. Even Uncle Greg wants nothing to do with them, not because I asked him to, but because he saw what they were and he